Guys, Greg Beast here. This week's Beast Lab is all about, unfortunately, this time of year, ACL season. And as somebody who's gone through an ACL repair in the past, I wanted to give you guys as much insight as I could to kind of help you through that situation because it can happen to anybody in any position in our sport. Our positions are all dynamic. There's so much cutting. Even goalies can get someone, diving into the crease and blowing you out. So it can happen to anybody. And unfortunately, we all at least know a guy who's hurt his knee if it's not us ourselves. So I wanted to give you this insight. Now, if you go to the playlist down here on the YouTube channel, it's called Comeback Beast.0. In 2011, I blew my left knee out, planting and trying to do a spin move. And when I did that, I not only tore my ACL, I tore the lateral meniscus in my knee, and I also crack the articular cartilage. So if this is your femur and this is your tibia where your knee joint meets, the articular cartilage actually bounced off of each other and cracked. So I needed a ACL repair. I needed to shave the lateral horn of my meniscus, and I also needed what's called a microfracture. So in order to grow back the articular cartilage of my bone, they had to drill very tiny holes in the bone. So basically like grass seed, it would grow over time. So most ACL injuries aren't that catastrophic. Most of you have just simply torn an ACL, or you might have hurt the meniscus as well. So I just want to give you a little bit of insight. So there's 4 parts to this recovery process, in my opinion. I'm not a surgeon or anything like that. I'm just giving you guys something that I've gone through. The first process is something that I find particularly important, and it's something I use also when I play the sport. If you lose a face-off, I always tell guys, you have from time you lose the face-off to the time you get to the sideline to kind of sulk. Feel bad for yourself. That's fine. When you get to the sideline, it's time to be analytical and come up with your process and your plan for the next face-off. That's the same thing when you go through a catastrophic injury. In my opinion, when you blow your knee out, you have a full day. You get 24 hours. Come to terms with the fact that maybe you lose your summer. Maybe you don't get to go on vacation. Maybe, you're losing, if it happened early in the season, or maybe in the late fall, you lose a season of eligibility. Come to terms with all the truths, right? People are going to say, oh, it's okay. You gotta come to terms with your own truths, okay? So you get 24 hours. Once that 24 hours is over, it's time to get to phase 1. Phase 1 is realistic. Phase 1 means that we have a plan now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take phase 1, we're going to find a surgeon. We're going to shop around, find the right surgeon for you. We're going to go around and find the perfect physical therapist, because those are the biggest 2 components, obviously. The surgeon is just as important as the physical therapist. And then once you've got your game plan, you've got your surgeon, you know what you're going to do, you have to come to terms of what you're going to do. So you have really 3 options. You have a cadaver replacement for your ligament. So they take somebody else's ligament and replace it with your torn ligament. You have a hamstring, or you have a patellar tendon graft. Now, you could take your patellar tendon and they basically slice a third of it out and then lace it through to make your new ACL. Or you can take your hamstring tendon. I personally did the patellar tendon. I know plenty of people who've done the hamstring tendon. There's slight pros and cons to some of either one based on which surgeon you speak to. Some guys have said when they've done the hamstring graft that they've had hamstring issues afterwards. Personally for me, the patellar graft, even though it made the process of recovery a little bit tougher because you really have to get that patellar tendon back to 100% along with your knee, I'm really glad I went with the patellar tendon. Now, if you are an elite level athlete that hopes to continue to play this game at a high level and you're going to be playing sports for a long time at a high level, I would recommend you go with the tendon over a cadaver ligament, because a tendon is stronger. A tendon is thicker, and it will last longer, from a scientific standpoint. So that's kind of my recommendation. Once again, I'm not a surgeon, but that's what I've been told by other surgeons, and that seems to be the consensus in the scientific community with that. Now, once you've decided what you're going to do, then the process begins of finding a way to get full range of motion. They need your knee to bend all the way up at 180 and all the way down. Once you have your full range of motion, you're going to be good to go. Now, for those of you who just tear your ACL, or mostly partially or whatever, tear your ACL, you should be able to relatively walk normally. For those of you who also tore your meniscus, it'll be tougher because you'll have a ton of swelling. And then if you were like me, you're going to be basically on crutches because you can't put any weight on it if you have articular cartilage damage. If you do have the articular cartilage damage, you will also get what's called a microfracture. So you have the ACL, they'll do a double bone block, they'll lace it through, they'll shave the meniscus wherever it needs if you have it on a horn, and then the actual microfracture happens. They take the ends of your bone and they drill microscopic holes in there, and basically like grass seed, it grows that new cartilage. So then everything works together. So now this has a nice rounded end to it. You have the meniscus is fixed, and now you have a stronger ACL. That's the end result. So we get through phase one, we have our plan. We get past all the range of motion exercises. They want you to strengthen that quad because that's going to have atrophy after the surgery. They want all that stuff working. Then phase two, surgery. So once you guys go through the surgery, you'll come out, your doctor will tell you how it goes, and they will give you a plan. So when you get home straight from the surgery, you're going to be all loopy from the drugs, okay? They're going to most likely put you in a machine that basically bends your knee for you. So these are not the days of old where you basically get put in a huge leg cast and you just sit down and just wait for it to heal. Right away, you're going to be put in this machine that's going to basically bend your knee for you. And it's going to keep the range of motion going. I know, it's insane. You're going to look at your leg like it's a piece of hamburger, and you're not going to understand why it's able to do that, and you're going to wonder if you're able to be able to use it again. If you just have an ACL, just wait for that to happen. You'll be able to walk, and you'll be able to go into your PT and start working on that stuff. Now, this starts the next phase, post-surgery. Post-surgery is basically comeback season. That's where you need to have a game mentality. You need to stick to exactly what your physical therapist and your surgeon recommend. You need to stay on it, not until you feel better, until you feel 100% that you can go onto the field and play full speed without any issues. You stick to the game plan. And I always use this term when I talk about rehab and anything. Do it right so you do it once, okay? Because if you mess around with this, you're going to be right back on that surgeon's table because you didn't listen. So now, post-surgery, you got through your, the RPM machine, everything's kind of moving. Then you're going to go on and you're going to go into your rehab. Your rehab is going to be brutal. I'm going to be totally honest with you. If you look at the videos below, the goal is to get full range of motion. Now, if you have a microfracture like me, you'll be at least 6 weeks non-weight bearing. That will drive you nuts, and it drove me nuts, and I was still trying to work while I did it. It's tough, okay? But if you don't have a microfracture and you just had a lateral meniscus horn that needed to be, or a medial meniscus horn that needed to be shaved, you'll be back on your feet walking very quickly. It'll just be a matter of rehab. If you had a middle portion of your meniscus torn and it butterflied, they may have to do something more serious and you might be non-weight bearing for a little bit. But either way, go to the PT. That will include bending your knee manually. Like you will sit there and they will be pushing it towards your chest. That sucks. You will be laying on your stomach and allowing your leg to get to full range of motion. They'll tell you whenever you're at home, sit there with your leg up, knee unsupported, so the gravity itself can kind of push that knee into full extension. The extension is just as tough as the flexion, because if you stop here and you don't stay on top of keeping your extension, you can get what's called a cyst. And once that cyst builds up in there, it's really tough. And what happens is you can also get that cartilage and all that stuff can basically just kind of lock in there and you never get full extension. That means they have to break it. They have to break it up and extend it again. You do not want to go through that. So stick to the surgery. Always have that knee moving all the time. Get it full extension, full flexion. Do everything they tell you. Now, the tough thing is going to be you're going to need to get your vastus medialis, your VMO, firing again. So they're going to have all kinds of exercises to teach you how to lock your quad and focus on your quad. Once that's firing, they're going to start getting you to pull, basically sitting on a chair, digging your heels into the ground and pulling yourself forward to get the hamstrings firing. So basically, they're trying to teach every muscle around your knee to fire on its own so that it all works together. Comeback season is serious, man, and it's not easy. And anything that you've ever done in your life that's worth it is hard. right? So anything worth having is always a fight, and this is one of those things. You have to decide if you want this or not. I can tell you this with my sincerest heart, full heart, from the bottom of my heart. If you get through it and you do it right, it's worth it, because then you get to the other side. The knee that was reconstructed will actually be stronger and more and tighter than the knee that you have that's healthy with a ligament in it. You'll have your full burst back. You can get exactly back to where you were before. Now, in my case, my story with it was in 2000 up to 2011, I had always faced off in lacrosse, but I was a strength coach full time. So on the weekends, I played lacrosse, and I faced off, and I did it with athleticism, and I didn't really do it as a technician. Blew my knee out in 2011, and it made me really realize while I was at home watching Lizards games how much I loved the sport and how much I missed playing with my teammates, being part of the MLL, playing professional lacrosse, and it just killed me inside. So I got a pen and paper, and I used my kinesiology degree and what I used to be a Olympic strength coach, and I started just writing down exactly the biomechanics that would lead to a new stance for the FOA. And I wrote almost the entire FOA system that summer. I remember watching the Women's World Cup and kind of just crossing the T's and dotting the I's on the system and the angles in which I wanted to approach it and what made biomechanical sense for me. And it renewed the fire and passion I had for lacrosse and the position in general. In 2012, I came back under 10 months after my knee, came out and had a career season in 2012. It showed me, one, that if you came back and you worked your butt off with the rehab, that it would be worth it and you'll be healthy and fine. It showed me that the FOA system worked. Overnight, my percentages skyrocketed. The angles in which we were approaching everything made perfect sense. And the Face Off Academy training system, the basis of it, really just happened over that summer. And I look back on it obviously now saying, wow, it was a tremendously tough time for me in 2011. But when I look back on it, it very well may have been one of the best things that's ever happened to me in my life. It led me to what I do now. So take some solace in knowing that if you go through this and you battle and you get through the other side, there's very well maybe something great waiting for you there. Okay? You're not alone on this ACL quest. If you're a face-off guy in particular and you train with us at the FOA, reach out. We will always be happy to help you out. I've gone through this, obviously. Brendan Fowler's gone through his share of injuries. So has Chris Mattis. We've been there, man, and we know, we can help you the best we can. So there's your Beast Lab for the weekend. ACL rehab and prehab, the whole surgery process. Once again, good luck if you tore your ACL this year, or if you have a previous ACL injury. Can you please comment at the bottom and just give some insight? Things that maybe I missed, things that seem to work for you. We've so many lacrosse players, right? This whole community is small. We can help each other out with this, not just the face-off guys. Look at the Beast Lab. The Comeback Beast .0 playlist. Check it out. There's some painful moments in there. There's some funny moments in there. Me and my brothers are playing Halo right after I just got my knee bent. So there's a lot of stuff going on in there. So just check it out. Thanks a lot for watching. Subscribe if you can. Share this with anybody you know who's going through a knee issue right now. And I hope to see you guys next week. I just got a new box in the mail with a new piece of equipment that I may need to review. So check it out next week and get part of that notification squad.